And now for our feature presentation.
Just to begin, I had not heard of this movie, and it had been out
Until
for a couple of months until you mentioned it on that podcast. And I obviously knew nothing about it because I hadn't heard of it. But since then, since that podcast, funny enough, I've been hearing a lot of different, maybe it's just because of affiliation with that video, but like I've been getting a lot of conversations about RRR recently.
Yeah. Well, it was unfortunately snubbed for the position of international film. So in retaliation, they said, okay, well, we're just going to try and get nominated for literally every other category at the Oscars.
Yeah.
So it's up for consideration for most categories, including Best Picture, which would be super cool. And foreign movies have won Best Picture before. Most recently, Parasite won Best Picture a few years ago. I think that was 2019. But yeah, if you don't know, recently Chris and I did an episode of our normal podcast.
Yeah.
And when I title those podcasts, I am like so like, oh God, what did we talk about? And I just like the first thing I can think of, I'm like, this is the title, sure. It's never intentionally clickbait, right?
Right.
But and neither was this one, because I guess to be technically clickbait, it would have to have been a lie. But I did actually watch RRR twice in one day, which was the title of that. And we, as Chris said, have gotten such a response to that video, such a positive response, that we like absolutely had to do this podcast.
Yeah. I mean, for those who are fans of this channel, the response that one podcast got actually pushed our She-Hulk review, which would have been perfectly set today.
Oh, yeah.
It actually got pushed back a week just so that we could get this in.
Yeah, totally.
And be able to do it.
But yes, so typically episodes of that podcast will get 20-ish views on a very good day.
Yeah.
And this one has almost 4,000, which is
it's exciting.
Incredible, exciting. There's a few comments that we got that I just want to briefly mention before we get into actually reviewing this movie. So this person by the name of San S says, Telugu and Hindi languages are in no way similar. Telugu languages comes under Dravidian branch, and Hindi language comes under Indo-Aryan branch. RRR was actually that part is different, yes. So that was one, sort of the only instance of me just sort of talking out of my ass as a dumb American. I just assumed that Telugu and Hindi were similar. They are not, so I apologize. And the other thing that I got sort of right but sort of wrong is that the name RRR was the working title while in production, like Blue Harvest for Empire Strikes Back. And that was a reference to the director and the two main actors, the guy who played Ram and the actor who played Beam. Because they were finally, these titans of Indian cinema were finally making a movie together. And that name stuck with fans, so they applied different meaning to it later. The three words are rise, roar, revolt. They're different in each language, but the theme of rise, roar, revolt stays throughout.
Right. This movie definitely deserves the introduction to this podcast that we're giving it. I'm really excited to talk about it, though. I'm excited to get into it.
Oh, yeah, totally. Let me just... someone mentions that Bollywood and there's not only Bollywood and Tollywood. There's many rivals like Collywood and Mollywood. I did actually know this. I didn't want the RRR discussion to go super long because it wasn't the point of that podcast. So I did not mention that. And then this one I wanted to talk about for a sec. This person by the name of Viswa HS says, not all Indian movies are over the top. There are grounded movies in every industry. There are grounded movies in every industry in India. Try to watch some of them. Bunch of smiley faces. I knew this, of course. There's, of course, Indian cinema dramas and romances and tragedies. Yeah. I was merely speaking on Indian cinema action films. I feel like most, if not all, Indian cinema action films have like the one scene where it's like, can you believe they did this?
Well, can I actually speak to that? It was something I was going to bring up later.
Yeah,
but now
sure.
that we're talking about it now. I was thinking, because there was definitely a few scenes as an American, coming from an American lens, watching this film. You had mentioned something in our previous podcast that it really felt like they gave these two main characters superpowers or super strength.
Yes,
super strength is what you said.
Especially Beam, when he has the guns and he throws them down the mountain. I was like, nobody could do that.
There's a scene where actually Beam is flinging a motorcycle.
Oh,
that
yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
I was like, but it's funny. So I'm watching this movie, right? And I had an epiphany afterwards because I was thinking about it. I was actually like, I think I paused the movie, went to the bathroom, and then was like thinking about, like, I was like, this, as an American viewer, seems a bit funny to me. However, put a character from an American movie in the same instance, but that character just so happened to be bit by a radioactive spider. Now it makes perfect sense.
Yes.
Now I'm in. Now I am locked in. You got me. I'm ready, baby.
Yeah.
And like it really, there's a song that plays during the final fight scene where they're, it's almost like they've gotten their to make a comparison again to American superhero movies, it's like they got their comic book accurate costumes on. Do you know the fight scene I'm talking about?
When they're
in the woods
on like the scene right after
Ram gets the bow and arrow.
Yeah. After the running with him on his shoulders part.
Yes. Yeah. There's a song that plays, and the lyrics to it I do not know. I didn't have time to look into it this week, so please somebody tell me if I'm in the right ballpark here with my concept, my idea, my theory, my working theory. Is the lyrics say something to the effect of Ram, ancestor of blank, Beam, ancestor of blank. I'm almost curious if these
call him like the king lion of the forest people or something like that.
I'm almost curious if these are references to actual gods or characters in Indian folklore. And to me, in my head, I was like, maybe there's a whole layer to these characters there
that you and I just simply
we just
cannot
don't
comprehend.
have.
Right.
That we just don't have. And maybe viewers throughout the film are making connections to these characters and these gods, or like I said, I have a theory that it's either someone from Indian folklore or gods that they're making that we're not making, and then you see these guys doing these incredible things, and it's to me and you, we're like, usually, at least in American cinema, as silly as it may be, they give some sort of reason as to why they're able to do these inhuman objectives. But maybe they did do that, and you and I did not get it.
I mean, there's definitely something to be said about the fact that he literally dresses Ram up like that one deity that they keep praying to.
Yeah.
And why did he do that? Because it was cool. Sometimes they do things
or
in this movie
does it play into what I was saying?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't just
because that's
cool.
what I was going to say, because sometimes in movies like this, they do things like that just because it's cool, man.
Yeah.
But I feel like this movie goes out of its way to be like, yes, this is cool, but there's also a reason behind it. Perfect example is the flag. He grabs the flag on the horse on the bridge, and you're like, what's with the flag? And then he puts the flag in the water, and you're like, clearly he's a hero of his country.
Right.
Like, is that all? Is that why he has the flag? And then you realize that he had the forethought to be like, okay, I'm gonna wet the flag, I'm gonna throw it at him, he's gonna wrap himself in it, 'cause that thing's gonna explode. And it's like, whoa,
that was cool.
Everything had meaning.
Yeah. One thing I'd love to speak to, I'm taking a class in school right now called PPO, Privilege, Power, and Oppression.
Oh, okay.
And one thing, I mean, we've been talking about all these different systems of oppression and racism, and one thing, actually, reading from another class that I took this week was as Americans, we think of racism as, white people and black people and so forth and so on. But one thing, just as a white man from America, that I never really took into consideration is systematic white racism that pits people of similar or same ethnicities against each other. And in this movie, Ram and Beam, obviously there's a disconnect between or at least they think there is. I mean, that's the big plot.
Right.
That's the big twist. Is that they've been on the same side the whole time.
Right.
Which we'll get into it.
Okay.
But that was just a part of Indian culture from, I can only imagine, the 20s.
Yeah. Briefly, during the title sequence, it says India 1920 on it.
Anyways. That I would have never known. And the same can be said. The connection that I was making from school was, we're talking about African Americans and people from Africa. They have stereotypes for each other, racist stereotypes embedded in what white people told them to think.
Yeah.
And it's got kind of a similar concept going on, for me at least at the beginning, of this kind of mass confusion of where your allegiance should stand, and it's not always that easy. Sometimes it's complicated.
Right. Yeah.
And I really appreciated that.
The base of his whole, obviously, it's an inside job,
right?
But up until 2 hours and 15 minutes into the movie, everyone, all the characters, and sort of you as the audience member, are just like, why is he a British officer, but he is seemingly from Delhi? Why?
Yeah.
And even people in the characters in the movie, you can tell that it's just this guy's the greatest force in the entire British Empire, but he's Indian.
Yeah.
And he's oppressing me, another Indian.
Right. And I'm sure that that's based in actual situations that happened.
Right.
Because at the time, not to be like an armchair historian, because I wasn't, this is, again, from an outsider's perspective, but India, any country that is taken by the British Empire, there is definitely a disconnect between your culture and the culture that is appropriating yours, but there's even a better word, taking over, I guess I'll say. And I'm just droning on, but I can only imagine that there were some people that wanted to assimilate to the English culture, because that's who's in charge now.
Right.
Might as well get used to it.
Right.
So that's interesting. I really was not expecting the twist.
Yeah.
And I thought it was...
You didn't expect the Ram's actually a good guy twist at all?
Maybe inklings of it, but I'm not upset that it went that way, but I was like, this is going to be really cool if they try to make these two see eye to eye. And one of them is just completely an imperial all the way.
Right.
England all the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I really liked how this movie went. This movie ended 3 times as far as I was concerned.
Yeah.
And each time I stopped, I pressed pause and I was like, are you shitting me? Not in a bad way.
Just to see how much was left on the time.
Once was halfway through. I stopped when he got bitten by the snake.
Oh, okay,
I was like, we're wrapping up.
Yeah, no, but then you have the whole
Well, yeah,
nighttime
not only that.
party.
Right. I was like, we're wrapping up right here. He's gonna have some sort of revelation before he dies that Beam was right the entire time, but that didn't
at that
happen.
point, you think this guy's still a bad guy.
Yeah.
And he's gonna like the love of his friendship is going to ring true. He's gonna be like, nah, fuck the British government. We're doing this. We're saving that girl.
Yeah.
But then it keeps going, and they keep fighting each other.
Yeah. Well, so then the whole nighttime scene happens, and then it's I don't want to get things mixed up here. It's revealed that he was on Beam's side the whole time.
Yeah.
They save Molly, but Ram gets caught, and they're beating the shit out of him. And Beam escapes.
It's revealed to us that they're on the same side.
Yeah,
Beam and Molly are
Beam
now
does
on the
not
run.
know. Yeah,
right.
And we also at this point, I don't think we know Ram's like driving force of trying to get the guns back to his family. Maybe I'm wrong.
Right. No,
we don't know that his story isn't complete at this point for one reason or another.
Right.
If he died right now, his story would be done.
Right.
Is where they left us at. And I fell for it because I was like, well, Beam's got the girl and they're heading back. That's the end of the movie.
Right.
And then there's going to be a sad...
Saving that girl was the whole thing, right? That's the main character, and that just happened.
And then there's going to be this big sad moment of,
Did I do the right...
Oh, but he was going to be a good guy, and then he got killed, and then that's the movie. How sweet. But then there's third...
Yeah.
There's 3 arcs, and the third arc is saving Ram.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, they mention... when I thought the movie was settling down is when they're in like that, I don't know what to call it, hideout.
Yeah, where they meet, they cross sections with the fiance.
Yes, and that's where you get the backstory of the guns.
Yes.
So Ram's story isn't complete yet,
you
didn't know that.
You think you have all of the backstory, and then you get the little tiny bit at the end where the dad is like, "I'm gonna go blow myself up.
Yeah.
Give everyone a gun."
Right. Information was well placed.
Intentionally, intentionally given to us in specific locations.
It really, each time the story was winding down, I was like, I checked the time and I'm like, they're gonna milk this, huh?
Oh yeah, there's always, no matter how good the movie is, when you're that far into it, there's always fear that it's going to meander.
Right.
Because how do you fill 3 hours? A lesser director, production team would have failed, where RRR manages to make almost every single minute exhilarating.
Well, they cut it up into they intentionally leave out information, and they do it very well.
Yeah.
And there's 4 arcs, as far as you ask me. There's the
before they
story.
Meet.
Well, I wouldn't even call that. I would call everything up to them becoming friends an arc.
Okay.
Then you've got
them as friends.
Them as
the
friends
dancing,
arc.
The party.
Right. Then you have the them becoming enemies arc, and then you have the them saving the day together arc. There's really 4.
Everything is as it should be. The 2 badass friends get to be friends.
Yeah.
And they save the day.
And I really wasn't expecting it to play out like that. I really thought at the end of almost each arc, I mean, the first one I knew I was in for a long movie, so I didn't assume the movie was done then. But at the end of each preceding arc, I really felt like, oh, we're winding down, and then they add more information to the story.
Right.
Can I derail for a moment because something just came to mind?
Yeah, go for it.
Was every animal CGI?
Yes.
Even the horse?
The horse was only CGI when something would happen to it. Like, there's a few shots where the horse is real, but when he drives by him on a motorcycle and he drives by him on a horse and then he jumps off the horse.
Yes. Yeah.
This shot and then the jumping shot, the horse is completely CGI.
Okay.
They had him on like this cute little horse rig. I've seen the behind the scenes. But yes, you bring up a good point. There's horses. If the horses are getting killed or shot or jumped on or jumped off of, they're totally CGI.
Okay.
Because literally, like, they give a long list at the beginning of all the CGI animals they use, and one of them that I noticed the second time watching was fish. I was like, fish? But then they have that scene where they're walking underwater and they grab hands, and I was like, oh, fish. It's all fish. Those are fake fish.
Yeah. There was one scene with a horse that I'm now convinced was real, and there was a bird behind it. And I was watching the scene like, either this is the best fucking CGI I've ever seen in my life, or that's a real fucking horse. I think it was a real horse.
Which scene are you referring to?
It was early. It was very early in the movie. I think there was an English officer on a horse.
Oh, it's when Big Bad General Scott
is it Big
shows
Bad?
up.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Did you notice that the two white bad guys were like kind of famous?
They were, right? I recognized the woman.
She played Elsa in Indiana Jones.
Oh.
And he actually played Volstagg in the first 2 Thor movies.
Oh.
The big, like, I'm drunk and I got a big red beard.
Yeah.
Thor, isn't he great? That was him. That was Ray
Okay.
Stevenson.
Are they speaking English in the original dub? I think I watched the other.
Well,
dub.
you see, I since watching it 2 times
Yeah, you want to get into this?
in one day, I saw it live in the movie theaters.
Yeah.
So they are speaking English. Every time someone speaks English, even if it's Rom, they're doing it live on set.
Oh yeah, he
He's
he's got to speak English. I guess.
Yeah. So
like that.
Yeah, as eloquently as that noise that I just made. So every time they're speaking English, they're doing it on set. Every time they're speaking Tagalu, they're doing it live on set. Unfortunately, the Netflix version is in Hindi, which is a completely different language. So I was able to see it in its original language. 3 things I noticed about this on this viewing. When he's holding him at the party, and he's like, surrender or General White Dude is going to shoot you. And then it kind of like them holding the religious beads together turns into like a logo, but not really. And then it just cuts away to them like searching for Beam or whatever.
Sure.
That actually is where the intermission is. So
there's an intermission?
Yes. So in the movie theater, they didn't cut for one. They just kept going. But in the like film version, it says interval with 3 R's, which is very cute. Also, and I don't want to get into detail about this too much yet because I want to talk about it later. But the song at the end, this part of the screen is credits. This part of the screen is song. And by the time the song is over, the credits are over.
Oh,
the other
cool.
thing I noticed, which I thought was very interesting, and I can't quite figure out why, is that the people who were talking in English were dubbed, not dubbed, sorry, they were subbed rather incorrectly. Like it still got the point across, like, but so instead of saying like the person acting says, "We'll find him sooner than later," the subtitle would be like, "Sooner than later, they'll be found."
Isn't that always the case?
Yeah, I don't.
Hey, Toga, thank
Hello.
you for joining.
Yes, hello. We're talking about RRR, a movie that I know you also love.
I don't know why that happens.
Yeah,
I
I
want to
don't
say
either.
localization, but what, the people who speak English localizing it for English audiences didn't catch the English?
My theory, because you're right, that does happen in literally everything.
Maybe it's computerized?
My theory has always been that the people who are the people who are typing the subtitles are typing the script.
Ah, right.
And then
right,
as
right.
we know, sometimes actors ad-lib on set and they leave it in. That was always my guess, but it was just every single time a white person talked in English, that was the case. Didn't take me out of it, of course. I understand that language.
Right, right.
But yeah, if I
well,
could just...
were there subtitles?
Yeah. Well, there had to be. The whole movie was in Telugu.
Why? It's been a
Why
long week.
subtitle the American people?
No. Why didn't I realize there had to be subtitles on this movie?
Yeah, so if I could, OMG, so good, Mom loved it too. Yeah, everyone in my family loves this incredible movie. Briefly, since we're talking about it, so my theater was small. It was not full. It was a good mixed bag of people who had seen it and people who hadn't seen it, which was cool. There was a few bouts of laughter that didn't quite make sense to me, like when Beam and Ram are like the montage of them becoming good friends. It was just kind of giggles all around for that. And
I have a feeling people. You obviously watched it with an American audience.
yeah.
I have a feeling people thought it was a bit over the top. I think people thought like, you know.
Well, see, that's the other thing, and this I thought was really cool. When Natu starts the dance, when they just start singing out of nowhere, huge laughter from my crowd, which I think is a very appropriate response. That was my response when I saw it the first time too. I was like, "What the hell? This is so random." But then you watch this incredible song, this incredible dance number. By the time it gets to the part where it's just them and they like look at each other slowly, silence for my movie theater. My movie theater enraptured with what's going on the screen, which I thought was very cool.
The dancing in that particular scene, because I was gearing up for it. I was like, there's going to be a dancing, because you told me.
Yes, yeah.
You told me that there was going to be dancing, and this was my first like Indian movie, and I know all the American tropes of like what a Bollywood movie is going to be like.
Right.
So I was like, well, here it comes. And you know, if you're going to put a dance scene in a movie, and that's kind of what you're known for internationally, you go all out, and they went all out.
My God,
I've never seen a film dance number like that. I honestly thought, I mean, maybe the footage is sped up. It looks really good if it is, because there were a few parts where it was both of them, pretty much the only two in focus, just going hard. And I was sitting there, I was like, is it CGI? Are they speeding? But like, they were moving fast. Their faces weren't moving quite. It might have all been practical, like, you know, as is practical. And if it was, kudos to them.
As I am led to understand, they did all the dancing themselves, and then they had a little tiny CGI help with some of the timing of the actual. Because obviously,
you're human.
You're dancing. You're human. You're dancing on set, probably to a recording.
Yeah.
And then there's like the radio version of the song.
Right.
You know, I absolutely love Natu Natu, which is the Telugu version. In Hindi, it's called Nacho Nacho. But either way, it just means dance. Dance. Or I think it means let's dance or something like that. It's not a perfect translation with
obviously.
anything like that. But I just like you said, an American watching this as their first Indian cinema movie, which I think a lot of people are experiencing that because of how big this movie has become. You, on some level, expect a music video at some point, right, to be in the movie. But they took it a step further, where it was like, not only is this going to be an incredible dance, a highlight of the movie, not only is this going to be super impressive, it's also going to have plot relevance.
Well, yeah,
it's also going to be very important to the story. You can tell when like the cinematography switches from kind of a fantasized music video to now this is an actual scene.
Yeah,
where we're actually like, this is part of the like story.
I forgot, because you kind of hinted at that last time, and I brought that into the film, and I was like, oh shit, it really. I wasn't bothered by the dance scene, because I mean, I'm not a big guy for musical movies.
Right.
Anyways, I don't
Which
really like when that happens. It wasn't.
Not,
it wasn't at all. But when the one part of like, oh, here it comes up, it did have plot relevance. It made sense. It fit in well, and like, was not upset by it in the least.
And managed to be like highly entertaining.
Oh yeah,
incredibly impressive. Also, I don't know if this was intentional. I have a feeling it probably was, because the more I learn about this movie, the more I watch it. I think everything cool that I like is probably intentional. But my dad and I, when we were watching, we noticed that Natu Natu happens exactly at the hour mark. And I was jokingly like, so there's going to be a song each hour, and then there was.
Really?
The Natu Natu is at an hour. Him singing when he won't kneel, when he's beating him up, that was an hour. And then obviously the movie, the 3-hour mark, ends with a giant credits sequence song.
Holy shit.
So I don't know if that was intentional, but like, it really helped in the movie theater. As soon as Beam started singing, I was like, oh, cool. Third left.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And those are really the only 3 songs in the film, right?
Other than the one that the little girl, other than the one that
Oh,
Molly
yeah.
sings, but that also
That's not really like a set piece, though.
and it also is, if you notice, the same song that Beam sings, just with different lyrics.
I did not notice that.
But other
okay.
than that, there's the background songs of the people like the da da dum da da dum
Right,
right, that keeps coming back and back, which do have lyrics which are also plot relevant.
Right, yeah. And it's funny, I'm sure they're a lot more eloquent in their own language, but like the American translation is like, here they are, they're becoming friends. It's just so like on the nose.
Very
it's
much
just like
yeah. A couple times I think the phrase like who could have foreseen this event happened.
I was laughing not at the film, but I was like, this is clearly translational.
Yeah,
like, they
yeah.
just, I'm sure there's some phrase or saying in that language that just does not translate
for
to
sure.
English. So they were like, just explain what's happening.
Especially with music.
Right.
Because you have to hit a certain, like, you know, if you translated this literally, it wouldn't fit. You know, it's the whole thing with foreign music being translated to English and vice versa.
I'm glad it was in there though, because had it not been that last fight scene, I would have walked into this being like, it was a cool movie, but like these guys had like fucking super strength, and I'm not sure why. And now I can walk out of this with I feel like I'm walking away with like a slight understanding of there was a bit more going on there than I knew.
Yeah. So you speaking on that, the one thing that even after 2 watch throughs I was like, I have to look up what this means. And it makes sense why I didn't know what it meant, because it's an Indian culture tradition. But a couple times throughout the movie, it's actually one of the like things that bonds them. There's talk of like, don't eat with your right hand, or don't eat with your left hand. What did I tell you about eating with your left hand? And I looked it up.
Can I give my guess?
Sure, yeah.
English high society always eats with their left hand.
No. In India, things that have to do with your mouth, like eating and coughing and stuff, that's the right hand. Things that have to do with cleaning yourself and wiping your butt and stuff like that is with the left hand. So you're not supposed to eat. Obviously, wash your hands, it's fine, right? But like culturally speaking, you're not supposed to eat with your left hand. So when he eats with his left hand, and Ram is like looking at him like, oh my God, like I'm falling in love with you. And then like 3 hours later in the movie, you see the flashback of his mom being like, told you not to eat with your left hand. It's like, oh, because they both do it, and that's why it mattered so much to him. But also now I know what it means because I looked it up.
That's so crazy, because there is in English culture, it's so that you don't eat too fast. You like stick the fork in, cut, and then you like I saw this happen once on a TV show. You switch your hand so you don't eat too fast. Like,
there's like a whole
switch
like
hands and stuff.
proper British way of eating.
Yeah.
Just
so I figured it was going to be something to do with that.
No, but absolutely, it has absolutely nothing to do with that, which I thought was fascinating. So I have to talk about Alia Bhatt, the actress who played Sita, the fiancée of Ram.
Yeah.
She is, I found out, the most famousest in Indian cinema.
Oh, yeah?
She's like, I think they said she's the second highest paid. She's the third highest paid and the first highest paid female or something like that. She is so famous. She literally, that one movie, I forget what it's called, but it's the movie where the guy is short and they like use CGI to make him short, and it's like very impressive.
The Hobbit.
No. It's an Indian cinema film. She literally cameos in that movie as herself. Like
she Julia Roberts that movie.
She is like so very famous, and it makes sense because she was pretty cool. Because you get to Sholay, you get to the end song, right? And it doesn't take you long to figure out like, oh, this music video, it's not the characters singing, it's the actors.
Yeah.
And then she shows up, and you're like, she's a big part of this music video and was not really a huge part of as huge of a part as they were, and then you go to Google and you find out that she's a superstar, and that's why. Also, my theater, when Jenny, the white woman, when she showed up in the Sholay music video, eruptive applause, which I thought was cool. Because I thought that was cool. I thought that was cool as well.
With the ending, no.
Yeah, in the very last music video where they're talking about the leaders of India past. She has a small part in that.
I remember. I don't remember what she did in it.
She just sang a line and then danced the last couple.
And people were super excited about that.
Yeah,
I couldn't see an American audience caring that much about that.
About Jenny.
Well, just that she showed up and started dancing.
Oh no, it was just. I think it was really cool because I also was very excited first time I saw it. She's the one white character that I cared about.
That wasn't a shithead.
She was the one white character that wasn't a villain, and she was a protagonist all the way through. Like even when he's like, I gotta break into this high security prison to get rum, and she's like, oh yeah, here's how you do it. So when she was included in the the celebration of Indian culture. Oh, also there's a gentleman in that song who does not appear in the movie at all. That is the director.
Oh, okay. You know how they met Jenny?
Yeah, by tricking her.
Yeah, well, I was like, had this been a real situation, Indian movie and American movie, I feel like any movie will do this, where it's like, we're going to do a very predatory move, but we're going to frame it in a way that it's silly. We're having fun.
Right.
We're all just having a laugh. That's creepy. But I could see that happening in American movie. It's not like an Indian movie specific thing.
Right.
But I saw that scene and I was like, she ever fucking finds out about this?
Yeah.
That's going to be weird.
Actually, I did have a question for you about Jenny that I watching this a third time. I was like, so do you think that Beam actually has interest in her romantically? Because as far as I can tell, he looks at her, and obviously she's very pretty, and he admits that. He looks at her and he sees my ticket into the castle to go.
Well, he didn't know that originally.
Did he? Well, yes, he did. Because the first time he sees her, she is, for no reason other than the fact that she's a good person, helping an Indian person. And he sees her, and he doesn't, I don't think he does say this. He's basically like, that woman's chill. She's our ticket to finding Molly. Then he actually meets her, and you kind of get the inkling that they're sort of falling in love, but there's always that thing in the back of your head of he's on some level using her to gain access to the palace or mansion or whatever you want to call it. But I guess my question is do you think he actually has feelings for her? Because I think
Can I hold on? Let me there's definitely a scene where she tells him that they have a little girl living with him, and he has an epiphany moment that it's the same girl that he's. So I don't think he knew that the second that he met her. I think he was attracted to her they're in a marketplace together.
So you think that what I interpreted as that white woman is chill, let's get on her good side, was just him being like, that white woman is chill, and therefore I am romantically attracted to her?
I think he thought she was attractive because they do their fucking
the trick, the fucking Mickey Mouse
yeah. And then they're in the market. They're buying stuff. Or whatever.
And that you're right. That's where the revelation.
Yeah, that's where his revelation happens. I don't think he immediately scoped her as she lives with them.
Okay.
Sorry to
I'm
fuck up your question.
Well, because what I was going to say is there's the one scene when they do go to the palace where she says something like, "Your dancing was incredible. Your eyes took my breath away."
At that point,
and I was like, she's into him. But in my head, I was like, unconfirmed if he's into her because he's sort of just using her. Because it was a very conflicting scene because he, first of all, doesn't know that she just gave him an incredible compliment. But also, he's just like, I'm here. I got to do something quick.
Right.
So he's not like that's not even on his mind at that point.
Regardless of how he his intentions originally at that point, you're right. It's pretty set that he's got conflicting interests and objectives.
Yeah.
I wanted to say objections so bad. That's
No.
not the word I wanted to say. So you're right. At that point in the movie, has he gone completely into I've got to save Molly mode, or is he still kind of into Jenny? I have a feeling his priorities changed immediately, especially because he can't fucking understand her.
Right.
I think his priorities, if not 100%, 89% have switched to, oh yeah, I'm here to do something.
Right.
One of my favorite scenes in this movie was him trying to remember her name, but it's the full sentence.
Oh my god, I know.
I was like that, especially because you're watching subtitles in a language that you don't understand, in a language that they're not speaking. For a hot second, I didn't get the joke.
Me either. Yeah.
But then, like, they made it abundantly clear.
Yeah, when he is sitting on the floor talking to Rom, and he says that her name is "Don't call me ma'am, it's just Jenny, sir," or something like that. That's the funniest scene in the movie.
Oh yeah, I love
easily.
that.
The audience I saw loved that because it's. I love that the relationship between Beam and Jenny is one that at its core is related to the fact that they can't understand each other because the people making this movie knew it was going to hit American cinemas. So they wrote a plot point like a not being able to understand, like a language barrier plot point. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's so I just thought it was really clever because it was appropriately funny.
Yeah.
And it made sense. Because I'm also in that situation right now of, like, if these subtitles weren't here, I would kind of be lost watching this movie.
And I wonder if they anticipated the, because we're the foreign audience in this situation, but I wonder if they anticipated the confusion of the joke, and then, like, that's why they gave such an on-the-nose spot, which was, like you said, the funniest part of the movie.
Probably, yeah.
Because had they not had that scene, I would have been like, I think I got it. I think that was supposed to be funny.
Right.
Yeah. But no, I really a lot of thought and effort went into this, and it's cool.
This movie is a movie in which it is absolutely impossible to take a bathroom break.
Well, I just kept pausing.
I couldn't do that in the movie theater, Chris. So they get to the bridge, and I'm like, all right. I'm locked in for another 40 minutes because right after the bridge is they meet Jenny, and then right after that is the dance. I'm not going to miss the dance. And then after the dance, he's chasing the dude, and then you have the snake scene. And then it's like, well, I'm not going to go to the bathroom during the party. I guess I'll just stay until the flashback. When is the flashback? 45 minutes to an hour from now? All right. I ended up going pee while he was talking to Molly through the jail cell.
Your app. Did you look up when to take a pee break?
That's a good point. RRR is probably on there.
Try it. See what it comes up with.
Let's see. Yeah, let's see.
So for those of you who don't know, because I frequent the movies with Thunder, for those of you who don't know, I frequent the movies with Thunder, he has an app
called Run Pee, not sponsored, but
called Run Pee, not sponsored, that tells you when to take a pee break during a movie. So he's going to look up RRR right now and tell you what they think is the proper moment to take a pee break in this 3-hour movie. Fire Striker says, isn't that a good thing, though? It's that good a movie you don't want to miss a thing? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But when it's 3 hours, I could see it getting a little...
I have unfortunate news. It would appear as though Run P does not cover international cinema.
Oh, no.
So.
Oh, you took it to the next level. I thought you were going to say RRR isn't on there, and I was going to be like,
but...
because there isn't a pee break, but...
No,
you took it the step further.
Yeah,
Oh, well.
Yeah, this movie was great. So I found out about this movie from Corridor Crew. Corridor Digital has a second channel called Corridor Crew where they talk about they react to CGI in movies. And they had an episode all about this one single movie, which is not typically how they do it. they typically look at like a bunch of clips that they
Yeah.
compiled over the week or whatever. So I'd seen a few scenes from this, but then my dad is browsing Netflix one day, and I see it because it is such a memorable title. And I was,
this is how you found.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I have to watch that. And my dad, because he was in the room, was like, I'll watch it with you. I was like, okay.
That's cool.
Or else I wouldn't have known about this movie. But speaking on the CGI, I thought it was really good. There's one shot. One shot when the tiger is chasing him, where the tiger sort of like through the trees. It looks a little janky. Other than that, the whole movie looks great. Literally, the next shot is the tiger, a close-up of the tiger while it's running through a river. It looks great.
I have one complaint
About the CGI?
Yes.
Sure, yeah, go for it.
There's a lot of night scenes with a lot of vibrant animals, and I think it suffers from, actually, you got from the Corridor crew that better understanding of CGI that you and I have because of that, of the colors cannot be brighter than the brightest natural color in the scene. And here's the issue,
Based
right?
on any given color. So, like, the blue in the scene can't be
Right.
more. Yeah.
Here's the issue. There's a night scene when they're jumping out of the, and he's got the two torches.
Oh,
and
you
there's
mean
a
the best
tiger
shot
there.
in cinema history?
Well, here's my issue. Here's my issue with the CGI in that scene. Right, the flame is CGI, and you can tell, which means that the brightest orange on screen is already CGI. Then you can tell that they matched the tiger to the CGI of the orange from the flame. But because I'm a freak, can already tell that the flame is CGI. So the CGI just I feel like if they made the flame real, which I don't know, how difficult that would have been to do practically.
Right.
It would have made the CGI in that dark space a little bit more camouflaged into the scene.
Yeah. No, I can totally.
Got to give the
get
good and the
that.
bad.
Oh yeah, of course.
If I had one complaint, there were a few moments where I was like, CGI, and every single time, I can't recall any others right now, but every single time I was like, I'm noticing the scene is a lot darker than this animal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is, it doesn't really matter.
I kind of want to have a segment where we just talk about all the cool shit visually that happened.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's obviously the bridge scene. The bridge scene is fantastic.
Yeah, the bridge scene was cool.
The shot, by the way, where it's just a shot of the train, like this. I have the camera. This is my microphone is the train, and the train's coming towards the camera. That's the whole shot. Completely CGI. The train, the bridge it's under, all the background, everything is fake, which is super impressive.
Man, I'm
But then
struggling to remember this. Oh, no, wait, that's what causes the bridge accident.
right.
Is the
Yeah,
train.
and then
Yeah,
when they
okay.
cut to the wide and you see the train explode, that was a miniature. So that was real
Oh,
fire.
that's cool.
That was obviously cool. Obviously him jumping out with the animals was cool. I want to give a special accommodation to the water going crazy behind him, and then you cut to him and all the fireworks are going off behind him.
Oh, yeah. That's way at the end of the movie.
No,
Right.
no. That's during the party. Because he grabs a torch, he accidentally throws it into the fireworks.
Oh,
and then he
yeah.
gets
Okay, that
thrown
was
into
at the party.
fountain.
They're both
breaks
night
the fountain
scenes.
open. Yeah.
They're both night scenes. Yeah.
He's got the water's going crazy,
Yes.
and then it cuts to Ram, who's the fire,
Right.
and he's got a bunch of fireworks
Yeah,
going off
yeah.
to match what he did.
Sorry, I knew the scene you were talking about the whole time. I misplaced where it
Right.
was. I also noticed that, and I noticed the fire water in.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Dude, they keep that shit up the whole movie.
Yeah.
He's got a flaming arrow.
Yep,
He
yep.
has the spear coming out of the water. I really like I was joking with my dad. I was like, we were not even talking about RRR, but I was just like, yeah. I was like, every time I watch a scene and someone's like, oh, did you think that was cool? I'm going to be like, yeah, it was pretty cool. It wasn't Beam double reloading 2 shotguns for his best friend that's riding on his shoulders, but it was pretty cool.
That first of all, we got Hypno in the house.
Hello, Hypno.
We're
Our
doing
day's going great. We're talking about RRR, which is an Indian cinema movie that is taking the world by storm, including this room and all the people in it.
Yeah, you talked about the double shotgun. That was So that whole scene,
Yeah.
that's the moment where I was like, okay,
They are superhuman.
Well, yeah, I was like, if this was like Iron Man and Captain America, I'd think it's a little less goofy. That's from my American lens, though, and
Right.
I can appreciate that. That's clearly,
Yeah.
going back to what I said like an hour ago. You give a guy serum, and now he's got super strength, and this guy
Right.
builds a mech suit, and so now that works in any condition you want it to.
Or
And we call these two superheroes, and that's validating to us in some form.
right.
In this movie really opened my eyes to like, well, even if my theory's wrong and they're not like descendants of some god or folklore person, and they just wanted to make these two super buff, so be it. That's the universe that they've created.
That whole, as you call it, the fourth act, that whole scene is filled with the most like over the top Indian cinema stuff.
Yeah.
I think the movie has to offer, because you've got the flip when they both flip up the tower and then he kicks the dude, and then you've got him shooting the guy with the arrow and then taking the arrow back out of him.
Yes.
You've got him throwing a motorcycle at a dude.
There was one scene, I don't know if this is what you were referring to, but dude's hiding behind a tree, and the arrow's like,
yes, that too. Oh my god.
And he's like, oh.
Oh yeah,
he like kicks
dude.
it or something.
Oh, and of course,
man.
I don't even know if this is how this would work. He's got essentially bomb arrows from The Legend of Zelda, where he ties a grenade to an arrow, pops the what do you call it? He pulls the key or whatever it's called, and then he shoots it, that it explodes. Where it's like, Mythbusters that shit, because I don't know if that's quite how that would work.
There was
I'm not a big movie buff, but I do watch a movie on occasion. I watched John Wick 3 today.
Oh, that's cool. John Wick is too sad for me. I refuse to watch it.
Same, dude. Have we never talked about this?
No.
I have the same exact excuse. So I'm going to lurk while I play Horizon Forbidden West.
Sure thing,
Have
man.
an awesome stream in case I can't chat later. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, no.
Enjoy your video game.
Absolutely, and as always, we appreciate you showing up, Hypno. Thank you. But is that
Yeah, what?
Sans from? No, what's the character's name from?
Sans, you got it right.
Yeah.
But that's not him.
Oh,
This
okay.
This is just a skeleton with a heart.
Okay.
I've clicked on and got a bigger image of it.
Oh, cool. What was I gonna say? Oh no.
We were talking about the fourth act fight scene in the woods with the grenades and.
Yeah, I mean this isn't what I was gonna say, but I loved the arrow breaking the spear into the water for Beam. I thought that was cool.
Yes, dude, that's another example of a scene where I was like, did he miss? No, that was clearly intentional. And then you're like, oh, now Beam has a weapon. Like, everything is intentional.
Before we cut over to Hypno, what were you just saying?
Before I cut over to Hypno?
To
I was talking about I said Legend of Zelda bomb arrows. He unclips the thing, he throws it, and then I said Mythbusters that shit, because I don't know if that could happen.
Oh,
I was just talking about how that scene is the most, like, over-the-top.
Yes.
What I expect.
No, I want to keep talking about that. I can't remember quite what I was gonna try to say, but oh yes, no, I just remembered. I just remembered. So there was one shot, right?
Yeah.
Where I think it was Beam is fighting off two soldiers real quick, and you can tell that a movie has a lot of action in it. When I was just sitting there, like, this 20-second fight scene must have taken like 2 days to choreograph and figure out the choreo. And it was like a 30-second interval in this giant fight, and I was like,
in this giant movie,
right. And I just had a moment of like, man, how long did it take to choreograph all these fight scenes?
Yeah.
I was just sitting there, and I had like an epiphany of like, it was just like boom, 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 and it was real intricate, and then it was done, and we moved on. But I was just sitting there like, those two actors probably spent like a month. Figuring this shit out.
You hear stories of Sebastian Stan being like, I want to do the knife flip in Winter Soldier for real, so I practiced it for like 2-3 weeks, and then I did it on the day. It felt great. Times that by like 30 for RRR.
Oh, I know.
Like there's Oh my God, it's so good. What I wanted to talk about was what is probably one of my favorite parts of the movie, where Edward calls reinforcements to the forest, and everybody's on motorcycles except there's one fucker on a horse, just so later when they drive to the palace, Rom can be on a horse and Bean can be on a motorcycle. Because this guy, he's on the motorcycle. It's shot so intentionally. He's on the motorcycle. The whole scene's in slow motion. You see Rom running, and you're like, he's going to get on the back of the motorcycle. He jumps off of it, shoots the guy off the horse, lands on the horse, and then they take off. And I was like, this motherfucker doesn't know how to ride a motorcycle. he needs a horse.
Well, it's his
Which
preference.
Is great. It's such like this entire movie is literally this entire movie is a case study on how to do visual storytelling in a film. Like visual cues. There's I always talk about in Avengers Endgame. There's a scene where
I've seen that movie.
Yes. It's at the very end, so spoilers, I guess, but I'm pretty sure everyone who's seen that movie is going to see it by now. But there's a scene where he snaps, you don't know if it works, Thanos shows up, whatever, and then there's the calm before the storm, and then Captain America gets a call from Falcon.
Yeah.
And then what you see is a Doctor Strange portal opens, and Black Panther and a bunch of Wakandans come out. Now, what happened off screen was Doctor Strange wakes up, he goes to Wakanda, that, he gets Falcon and Bucky and all them. You don't have to tell us that.
Right.
We see a Doctor Strange portal open after we hear Sam, and then Wakandans come out. We know exactly how the characters behind the scene got from there to there. This whole movie is filled with that, like how all he does basically the only thing he does to explain why he's there to rescue him is he shows him the necklace. And he's like, here's your necklace. And we know it's the fiance's necklace. He knows it's his fiance's necklace. And they don't have to be like, you see, I ran into your fiance, and that is why.
Yes, yeah. You've sold me on RRR with that scene we got from Drizzle. Cool. Awesome.
Oh my God! And then he fucking rips the cage out of the ground.
Oh yeah.
That, because that part, you watch that part and you're like, okay, I mean it is wood, and then you see him flip a motorcycle with one hand, and then you see him like pull those guns down the mountain, and then you watch the movie a second time, and when he's like hugging Molly through the bars, and he's like, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do. I'm just sitting there like, fuck, just rip him open, dude. You're fucking so strong. What are you talking about?
Oh man, you said it. You said like right at the beginning of this movie, there's a dude. You explained this movie very well. I guess is what I'm about to try and say, because you were like, this movie starts with this dude sitting in the office of some English guy being like, just fucking give him the girl back. This movie, I thought. No, I was correct too. Brutal opening for this movie.
Oh, I know. And the thing I love about the opening, you're. Oh, sorry. You're talking about the kidnapping.
Yeah, I took it a little further.
Yeah, that's that. I forget that's the actual beginning of the movie. Yeah, totally, bro. Also, the mom, I don't know if you caught this. Her name's Loki, which I thought was interesting.
Yes, I did notice that.
No comparison to be drawn, just something interesting I saw. She survived, which surprised me.
She did, right?
She got, beat, I thought to death, but then she's alive during the last scene where they bring the girl back. Sorry to cut you off. What I was gonna say is the fire scene where basically Rom is instructed to go arrest one dude in an ocean of 2,000 extras for that scene. By the way,
really,
on the wide shots, a lot of it's CGI, but there's 2,000 extras in that scene. And then it takes them a full 10 minutes to do that. You watch the whole thing play out, and it's super impressive and it's super cool. What I just said about that, and then this officer is instructed to get one dude in a scene. In any other Indian cinema film, that would be like the one thing where it's like, oh, that's the movie where the guy has to go get the one guy. But this movie has 9 or 10 moments where it's like, oh, you mean the movie with the bridge scene? And it's like, well, yeah, but what I was referring to is
or
the fucking. It's so cool, dude. He does it a couple times in that scene. I just love it so much. And that's another thing where it's like the obviously you have the scene that's kind of silly, and I think it's supposed to be where he basically just pantomimes a bunch of bullshit, and then they both know exactly how they're going to do the bridge scene.
Yeah.
But there's also like, he never said, Beam, could you please reload these for me? He was just like,
It's got a very like if this was an American movie, I could see Vin Diesel on the Rock's shoulders. Just, if this was an American movie, I could get. I don't think the scene would have worked as well. It would have come off way too like, dude, bro. Just like it would have been silly, but like
it would have been
in
stupid.
a different way.
Yeah,
in a different way. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. And I bring up Winter Soldier. I think Winter Soldier is a perfect example. If there was a scene in the Winter Soldier where Bucky was on Captain America's shoulders and he double reloaded 2 shotguns for him, that'd be the fucking best part of the movie. But this is just like a footnote in a fleet of dozens of reasons that the RRR is the best movie.
I want to get back to what you were saying. I get what you're saying is that opening scene in any other movie would have been the
one thing you talk about in conversation.
Right. It would have been the if you were to paint me a scene in the Titanic,
right,
what scene would it be? That would have been this.
Thank God you didn't actually want me to answer because I've never seen it.
Well, you know what scene I'm talking about, though, right?
The ship crash?
Yes.
I'm assuming, yeah.
Yeah. But, or I guess it could have been this, but whatever.
Oh, well, yeah, whatever.
But,
that's just trailer bait.
I get what you're saying. In this movie, that opening scene of that incredible fight scene would have been the highlight, but it's almost foreshadowed by every other thing that happens in the film.
That incredibly choreographed, like 10-minute long fight scene introduction to Ram's character is how this movie fucking starts.
Right.
And then there's other shit in the movie.
Yeah. The tiger scene in the opening for Beam's big introduction.
Yeah.
That was really cool, and I really enjoyed the tension of him like holding back the tiger.
Oh my God,
in,
dude! Were you immediately reminded of Thor holding the thing open so they could forge Stormbreaker?
No, but I should have been. I was thinking.
You know what I'm talking about,
yes,
right?
Yeah. I was thinking of Greek mythology. I forget who it is. It might be Hercules holding the 2 pillars up.
Oh yes,
that's what I was thinking of.
It might be Hercules. Not quite sure.
You know what I'm talking about, though, right?
Yeah. But no, it's that scene. That scene is great because you're right. There's so much tension, which is hilarious because there's literally actual tension that he's. But like,
I'm gonna turn this down one.
That
I know we're an hour
scene.
in, but
that scene, that particular part of that scene is like, what am I trying to say? Like he's doing that right, and it's very intense, and he roars at the tiger. The tiger roars at him, and he roars back at the tiger, which is kind of silly, but it's kind of badass also. And then it breaks, and the scene keeps going, and now he's like literally wrestling this tiger, right? But then, after it's all done, you get this like incredibly moving scene of Beam being like holding this CGI tiger close to his face, just being like, "This isn't fair. I'm using you.
yeah,
You are my brother. I was also born of this forest."
yeah.
And I thought that was a really cool way to end that scene because in any other movie it's just like boom, hit him, scratch, done, tiger, and it's like scene over.
Right.
But they took a beat to be like, and even if you kind of get the sense that like his friend group that he's with also are just like, all right, he needs a sec, he needs an emotional sec with the tiger, and then we can go back to what we were doing.
Well, it's kind of, I appreciate the respect because they were using the tiger, but also that was never their intent anyways to have that.
To have a tiger, right? They were trying to catch a wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was cool.
Yeah. Very good movie. That we unfortunately have to stop talking about because we've been talking about it for quite a bit.
Woo!
But yeah. So glad you liked it. So glad.
Can I make an announcement?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So, because of the extensive God, what am I trying to say?
I don't know.
The outpour of people who watch that podcast, and hopefully the people who are going to watch this podcast
YouTube
once
video,
it's up, once it's a YouTube video, We just want to inform you that your voices have been heard. We will be integrating more, not just Indian movies, but international movies into our cinematic relief. In the films that were suggested, it's got to be integrated into what we're already doing, so they won't all happen immediately.
Yeah, of
but
course.
we are
Yeah.
going to look into the films
Like
that were suggested.
The next episode of this podcast will be about She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Um,
So it won't happen all at once, but stay tuned. If you enjoyed this podcast, if you
Yeah.
enjoyed us doing international and Indian cinema, there will be more down the line.
Zero. That's what it's called. Sorry, super unimportant to the conversation. Zero is the name of the movie with the short dude. That they made CGI short.
Cool.
Starring SRK. Just thought of that. Because I was about to say, I would love to watch Zero. I really want to watch Ega. That's the one with the fly. I've already seen Bahubali the beginning, and my dad and I are planning on watching Bahubali the conclusion next week.
Cool.
Because I did like it. Bahubali the beginning, not as good as RRR. I don't. Not many movies are, in my opinion. But it was kind of predictable until the very last. I think I already talked about this for a brief moment, but it was kind of predictable. Other than like the very last thing they reveal, I was like, and then this happens, and then this happens. Oh, okay, it happened. Oh, and then this is who did. Okay, but there's something that happens, and you're like, and then they're gonna say that this person did it, and then you find out that a completely different character did it, and I was like, oh shit, what a twist! I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
Credits. So
Oh, no.
I'm genuinely excited for Bahubali 2, especially because the one big moment from that movie that I thought was in Bahubali 1 is in 2. The thing I've already seen, the thing that made this movie famous, in the thing that turned this movie into a meme, for lack of a better term. Because sometimes on the internet, especially 10, 15 years ago, Indian cinema films will have that one scene that makes its way across the ocean, and it's just like, man, in an Indian cinema, be crazy, right? And then you actually sit down and watch it, and it's like, oh, well, hold on.
I'm excited. I'm excited to integrate this into our ever-growing list of things we do on Cinematic Relief.
Yeah, totally.
I'm glad She-Hulk's getting an episode.
Oh,
I feel like maybe a year ago we would have been like, no, just movies. But I'm glad She-Hulk's getting an episode.
Possibly, yeah. No, look out for our She-Hulk episode. I really liked it, but I have a lot of things to say, so I think I'll make for an interesting podcast. And also, typically on this podcast, it's funny because it's like a new thing, but we've kind of broken the rules a few times already. But typically we do a honorable mentions at the beginning. We didn't do this time because we wanted to give RRR the spotlight that we unintentionally gave it in our last podcast, and officially say this is our discussion of RRR. We both loved it. Also, like, if we haven't, like with Langwill, what Drizzle said, if we haven't already convinced you to go watch this movie, go watch it. It's on Netflix. Make sure you play it in the appropriate language, and by appropriate I mean Hindi with English subtitles, because for some reason on our account it auto-played it in Brazilian subtitles. The white people were dubbed in Brazilian, and we were like, no, I think these people are supposed to be talking English. And sure enough, we were right. So make sure
I was under the impression that Hindi was the only option, but there's other options. So wait, they have Brazilian subtitles, but they don't have the actual language that they're speaking as the subtitle option?
They have Brazilian audio. I noticed they have English audio, which I might actually check out just to see how bad it is.
Well, I was just gonna say it probably sucks.
But it auto-played it in Brazilian for us for some reason, and we were like, hold on. For some reason you just can't watch this movie in its official language. Even on Netflix in India, you can't watch it in Telugu. You can only watch it in Hindi.
Weird. I'm glad you got the experience in the theater, though.
Me too. Cool. Yeah, dude, I'm just browsing the internet after work one day while I'm in New York. If you want to hear about my New York trip, stick around. We're about to talk about it. And I saw a random tweet that was like, someone was like, I can't believe RRR is in American cinemas again this weekend only. Anthony, this weekend only. And I was like, wait. And I was like, there's no way. It's playing at a theater 20 minutes from my hotel. Awesome. So I got to see it. Which was really cool. It's one of those things where it's like, that was a dream of mine to see the movie in theaters, and it's only been a dream of mine for like a week
Right,
and a half,
right,
and
right,
I still it just happened right away, which I never thought would happen. So, that was that. Thank you so much for watching.
Yeah.
Like
if you're
we said,
watching on Twitch, please stick around because we're not done yet. We're moving on to our we keep calling it. I've actually been having an issue.
okay.
I've been trying to explain to people the different stuff that we do on this podcast. We keep referring to this as the regular and normal podcast. We have a movie podcast. We have a video game podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I suggest we refer to this as the pop culture podcast.
Okay.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Because I just want to give it a reference point for people. Because you call it regular or normal, and that doesn't really mean anything outside of like the context of what we do. We know what it means,
right?
But
we could start referring to it as the flagship podcast if that would.
That's even better. I think that's even better
because I do agree there should be a better delineation than saying the normal one, the regular one,
the one where we act normal.
But a significant chunk of that podcast is us talking about ourselves,
right? So,
yeah. But yes, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you.
Yes.
This was Cinematic Relief. Thank you for being here. And until next time, I've been Thunder.
I'm Lightning.
And we'll catch you later. Thank you for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe.
Our channel has daily uploads from podcast video essays, Let's Plays to skits.
Be sure to watch on Twitch. We stream all our video game and podcast content live at 5 EST every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday.
Our intro is by Brad Kendrick and music by Froggy and the Friendship. Link to all that in the description below.
Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.